Hey people, we are back. It's been a what 2 week hiatus.
2 weeks.
We had things coming up, then I wasn't well, and I'm getting better though. As you could
There we
probably
go.
hear, I still got some lingering something going on in my upper respiratory system, but it's getting better. Um, we're glad to be back. So welcome to Sip and Chat with Doc and Daryl. We look forward
D&D.
to this conversation. We wanted to come back. On a kind of lighter note than we have been doing in the last few weeks. So this is kind of lighter, a little bit lighter. We're gonna laugh a little bit, have some fun. How was your week, Daryl?
I'm
We cannot hear you
they wait till you start doing something to start talking.
all the time.
Crazy. I ain't seen him in about an hour. Now all of a sudden he want to. She asked because he burned down the house. I don't know what you meant, but hey, can I burn the house right down real quick? No. So,
Well, if I see smoke behind you, I'll let you know.
oh please, please. But it was a good week. Uh, Again, went by pretty quick. Friday already. Even the 2 weeks went by pretty fast because we're already
It
here again
did.
after 2 weeks. So
It really
everything.
did.
So good week. Good week.
Good, good. Yeah, my week was pretty good too. Like I said, only thing I got is this whatever this is. It's driving me crazy. I'm. It started off as one thing, but I think now it's some allergies mixed in with it, so it's
Gotcha.
kind of prolonging the symptoms. But it was a good week. Hey, is that my best friend? That's my
I'm,
best
it's,
friend. She a real bad chick.
it's weird to see her in the comments.
Yes, hey girl, hey girl.
We we figured this was gonna be a good topic for you. I'm just saying.
So we are talking about tonight, is your relationship built on a fantasy? And as Daryl and I have been talking about this and looking at things, there are a couple of ways that this plays out.
Right, 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 right.
Being in a fantasy relationship, one of the ways that I have seen is that you're in a relationship and you are making it out to be something more intimate, something closer, something that is a little bit more and sometimes a lot more than what it actually is. And you have made this all up in your head. Um,
Right, right.
and in this situation, you're usually idealizing the relationship that you have with this person and or idolizing the person and making it seem that this is more intimate than it is.
Right, right.
So
Or and sometimes
that's one of the ways.
to kind of to piggyback on yours, sometimes people the fantasy like they'll fall in love with what they think it could be. They fall in love
Mhm.
with possibilities, right? So you're like, oh my God, this person is so great and they're so smart and they could be a rocket scientist, but they're not. Okay. They could be a lot, but you got to take them from what they are. You know, if they're on fries, if they're working on fries, then that's who they are, right? They're not. And you fall in love with
What?
potential.
I was going to say, Daryl, you can't fall in love with potential.
Nah, you can't. You got to fall in love with what you see. Potential may or may not come, and because the potential you see, they may not see in themselves, right? So sometimes you may see
Mm-hmm.
the raw material for something to be something, but if that's not what that person wants or the direction they're going, then it's kind of like a waste of potential in your mind. But you might have fell in love with this person. They're 6'5" and they can dribble a ball. Like they're gonna play basketball. Well, they may not be, right? They may not make it.
Mm-hmm.
They may want to dance or color or something. So sometimes sometimes falling in love with potential of what you see is a problem. Like, and now in your head, you're making it to be, like you said, something that it's not.
Mm-hmm. It's not only a problem for you. A lot of times you make it a problem for the other person because now you're projecting all this onto them that they had no idea of or that they never decided that they wanted.
Right. So I seen one where it says, the fantasy relationship can produce a clingy partner.
Yes.
So, because this person is so in love and they think you're so great and they want to be around you, but I met you yesterday. Like, what are you doing? Get off me. Stop touching me. What do you, I don't like you. Because, this person is so in love with this, whatever they have in their mind, the whatever view they have of you in their mind, they fell in love with, and they're acting it out as such.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like the love bombing. If you actually have access to the person, because in some of these situations, the person doesn't even have access to the person. They're like making this up. She gonna be my wife. Like,
Stalker.
wait a minute, but she just said hi when she walked by you at the water cooler.
Right. He knew what that hi meant. She said hi. I know what that meant. I know what she meant. She want hi. She want my kids. She want to get married.
Yeah, so you start, making up all these fantasies about how wonderful your life is going to be with this person. You start daydreaming, making up stories about how happy you guys are going to be in the future. And and like I said, that's if you don't have access, it may just be daydreams. But if you have some access to the person, you could be starting to put pressure on them.
I've seen a lot of these cases end up on the ID channel.
I would agree with that.
Like, and it's not some fantasy is okay, but like I said, when you go to the extreme with it, where, like I said, the person said hi, or you guys may have had lunch once or twice because you were in a lunchroom at the same time, sat at the same table, and you really think you're dating, that's a problem. I know at work one time this happened, and the guy, he said the girl was actually talking to another girl about her life and about having kids and things of that nature. And he said that she was signaling to him that that's what she wanted from him. Yeah.
Okay.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. And it's crazy because I remember he would talk about it like they were dating, and I'm like, God, they don't look like they would ever even be in the same room together, So I ended up, being nosy, asked her. She was like, "Who?" She didn't know who the fool was. And,
wow.
he was in a legit full relationship with her in his mind. I said, "Wow, cuckoo crazy at work." You in a relationship, don't even know about it.
It reminds me of that show. What's it called? You.
Oh man, it's crazy.
Joe.
Mm-hmm. Joe was wild, boy. His imagination was crazy. Yeah, she used her credit card because she wanted me to know her name. Did she? Or maybe she didn't have no cash. Whoa, Joe.
But it is not that uncommon that you meet someone, or some people meet someone and you like them, so you kind of start thinking about how it would be if you were able to be with them. But that part is not uncommon. But when you take it a step further, where you've actually created a life, that's when it becomes a problem.
Right.
If you a fantasy, a innocent fantasy about, oh yeah, if I were, how people talk about celebrities, like if I was married to such and such, we'd buy this big house, we had these cars, blah 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 blah. But you say that kind of stuff and it's not real. It's not real.
Yeah, right. Like you don't end up in a house.
They don't know it's not real. Right.
You don't end up in a house naked waiting for them. It just happened to someone recently where the guy said, Kobe's daughter had a stalker. And he was saying that he wanted to, give her, have a baby, a little Kobe, and they were together and all this thing. I think he just got locked up for stalking her. It's crazy.
Oh
I'm
my
not sure if he's in her house or not, but it was something crazy where he had a whole, relationship that they were having by itself. So that is crazy. And it's crazy too, because you're putting a lot, like I said, you're putting on, even if it's a relationship that is budding, like you just met the person, you're going out a couple of times, and this person is on stage, they're at the ring and you only met them 3 times. That's a problem too, because they're usually putting pressures on you that they don't see. Like, hey, babe, oh, and introduce you, this is my boyfriend. Like, wait, I just met you. That type of stuff, it gets weird, because now how do you react to that, right? Sometimes people won't say anything, which now helps that delusion fantasy go even further.
Yes.
Because you said it and you didn't really say no, so that means we're on the same page. So now we're dating.
Yes.
Which is really scary.
That is very scary. You're telling people, or you're feeling like, this is my soulmate. It's like,
Right.
how is this your soulmate when you don't know anything about them?
Nothing. So, and what I was reading.
Hey, Neil.
Wait, who's your best friend then?
Huh?
Who's your best friend?
That's my best friend is Katina Lee.
Oh, that's who that was.
Yeah.
Oh. Hey, Neil, I asked why you weren't on the show today. I see with your little picture. Over here looking at me now. It's kind of strange. Take off screen.
And I told him, Neil, that it was my fault, because I was sitting up here falling asleep. And by the time I looked up, it was late. And I was like, dang, I don't want to try to, convince her at the last minute. So that was my bad.
I'm not gonna say what she said. She said something else.
You know what? Always trying to start some trouble.
She said she ain't gonna let you on because you at that igloo in the backyard with the heater in it. And you didn't invite her.
Now you know he lying.
You didn't invite her over. She wanted to come over to the igloo.
You know he lying. He's the one mad that he hasn't been invited to the igloo.
It looks really nice. I like it. Oh man.
He is waiting for the invite.
But so with the imaginary, like, so you put undue stress on the other person, and if the person doesn't respond in an, saying, hey, slow down, then now they're encouraging this behavior to continue. But it could actually work kind of the other way too. I was reading where, there we go, 2023. I seen one where it's kind of the same, but a little different, where the person is putting up a front like they like you more than they do, to really keep themselves at a distance. Like, they've been hurt before. They said it could have been in childhood. It could have been in past relationships. Now they're really afraid to get into anything. So they'll just, use this fantasy to act like they're into you more than they are, or they're in a different place. So, they're like, oh, baby, I love you so. They'll do all those things, but the feeling isn't there. So because they're waiting for the other shoe to drop. They're like, if something happens, good. I haven't really invested truly into it. But the problem is, you're acting like you are.
Right.
So the other person may really feel like you are in a different place. So the other person, in this case, may feel like you're in a relationship, may feel like you guys are in love, may feel like, even to the point where I've seen where people may propose to someone and then the person says no.
Yes.
Right? Because they never were there. They weren't there to begin with. It was more of that fantasy they were projecting to keep themselves safe, but end up hurting you.
Yes. Excuse me.
So,
sorry.
You might need to wear a mask. You might come through the airways.
Another way that this plays out too is when you're in like that budding relationship that you talked about, and you are thinking that this person is perfect.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you
So,
are. All of your fantasies is about the perfection of this person and the pedestal that you have put this person on.
mm, I remember we had a lot of guys had this conversation. I thought I was really the only person that kind of did this time and time again, where, hey y'all, we don't know who
Hey,
Facebook user is. Could you shout
right?
out your name with
Let
that,
us
please?
know
Say
who
who you
you
are.
are.
Check in,
Yes.
check in Facebook user. Where when we meet a girl, especially if she's really attractive, where you put her on this, man, you had put her on this pedestal that she could never reach. She could never be perfect. So when she does something human like, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe she didn't wash her hands when she left the bathroom. It's the worst thing in the world. And it's like she fell from grace, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you may even feel differently about that person at that point because you put them on such a high pedestal. You know, that fantasy you had was, what's up, Camp?
Hey, Cam.
Um, the the fantasy you had in your head was that this person was just perfect in every
Mm-hmm.
way.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually feel like they're perfect until you, and then after you realize, then you realize they're kind of regular.
That's just you
Same
there.
old crackers. Same old crackers.
That's a
Different package.
shame. Is that when you have that person on a pedestal, you really don't allow for them to be human. They
No,
can't
you don't.
fart. They can't
No,
take a
nothing.
dump.
Nothing. And it's funny. I know, and I don't speak for guys. I remember a lot of us do that sometimes with certain women. We will do that, and it's just unfair to them because, like I said, they do anything human. You're like, oh my God, I can't believe you burnt. Like it's really regular.
From around the way. That's right. Not perfect, but regular.
Right, and that's what everybody does, and you rob them of a chance of being human by doing that. And
Yes.
again, like I said, but I know a lot of us have done it. Like I said, especially if the girl is very attractive, you're really like, oh my God, she's got to be perfect because look at the way she looks. Look at the way I
Mm-hmm.
feel. And then that's where the fantasy comes. You're like, oh my
Yes.
God, we're gonna have 5 kids, I'm gonna have a boat, and we're gonna do this, that, and next, and it ain't nothing gonna happen because then it's like, she ain't really, she ain't really that great.
When if you would have took the time to get to know her as a real person
Right.
and as a human being as opposed to this fantasy thing, then you would eliminate that uh
Right.
fall from grace.
Right. But I think, and that's both sides. Sometimes the other person will, in the beginning, you try to be perfect, right? You try not to let anything slip because you don't want to look, um, you don't want to look like out of place. I remember one time we were going out with this group of girls. It was me and my cousin. Um, he was sick. He was real sick. He shouldn't even going out, but it was like, come on, man, I need the wingman. So he came and he was sick. But I'm like, don't cough because I don't want to see you sick and you mess our night up. You
Oh
know what I mean?
wow.
So we was at the movies. He was trying to hold his cough in and threw up.
Oh no. That's terrible.
Night over. Night over.
Anyway, night was over anyway.
Right, because we were trying to put up this, this perfect facade. If he'd just been sick, it'd have been sick, and it'd have been what it was, right? It could have been
Right.
either yes or no. But by us trying to make it, be perfect, we messed it up. I was so mad. Had to go home early.
That's messed
Terrible.
up. He can't even be human and cough.
No, I like don't call. And it's funny because when I said it, and I look back, I'm like, it's the dumbest thing I ever could have said. But when I said it, it felt real, it felt good. Hey, bro, listen, what you need to do, don't be coughing and sneezing. You don't want to mess it up. And he was like, yeah, you're right.
Poor thing. Listening to you.
Messed the night up for everybody. I'll tell you, gosh darn it.
Keep the daydream suspense going. Uh-huh. I mean, I think that's why some people say that you should live together for a little bit before you actually take your relationship to marriage. So
Right,
that you get to
right,
see the
right.
real.
Absolutely. And so it's not, I would say, so when you get married, you're not starting a new chapter in your relationship, because now you're learning a whole new thing. I know how this person operates in the space where you guys both are all the time, what you didn't know before, right? And that could lead to divorce, because I'm like, I don't like you now. You know, I like you from a distance. I like you when you go home. But being here every day, I don't like the way you snore, or the way you eat, or, you know, your bathroom habit, whatever it could be. It could be something that now could actually turn you off. So, you know, I'm not saying shack up, but I'm saying shack up. So I'm not saying it.
I mean, yeah, we're not saying shack up, but you know,
No.
if you get engaged, I mean, you know, you might want to.
Hey, if you're already having sex, you might as well shack up. Let's stop playing games, okay? I don't want to live together. Well, you give me the yams every time I see you. So what's the difference? Stop playing these. That's a fantasy. We're not playing these fantasy games. That's when you're trying to promote something to everybody else. Trying to promote the fantasy to everybody else like it ain't going down. It is.
Yes, yes. Yeah, someone said it's good to know. Who's that? Can't. It's good to know these things before marriage. I think so. I think it is. How to not.
So touching here something that says how fantasy bonds are different, how it differs from love. Love is kind of pure, selfless, emotion, with emotion that we feel for one another. Yams equal living together. Yes.
We need to make that a banner.
Yams
equals living together.
There you go. That sums it up. That's good math there. That math is mathing. So, and it says fantasy bonds usually, they can be a defensive mechanism. That's what we're talking about, where you're not really giving the true you. You're kind of promoting something to the other person that is a fantasy. You're giving them kind of what they want. It said that you kind of lose yourself in this. Like, so you just become whatever the other person, whatever they like to do, you like to do now. Your opinions are their opinions. Like, you lose your own opinions, you lose your own individualism. You just become what they do. And that can't last for too long, because then you don't have yourself. And that's usually to keep yourself protected so that when something happens, you can leave. So you're not even letting the person in.
The problem with the fantasy bonds is that there's no real connection.
Right. You never let them in.
Right. The connection is not real.
Hey, listen, the fantasy can get away with the yams. Because as long as we get in the yams, we don't care about the fantasy. We won't care about the fantasy. A dream, a simple fantasy that yams. You know, as long as the yams, it's okay.
I don't know why you got him started. I don't know why.
So, but yeah, so that's the problem, where whatever the fantasy is going on, really the real you is not being allowed to show, right? Because even if you're fantasizing about the other person and you're all into them, you're not even giving anybody a chance to know you or anything like that. You know, right. A little something, Ruth. You know what I mean? A little something.
Yes, and if you know, in order to break that fantasy bond, you really have to start to express yourself, your real true self. I mean, first of all, you have to acknowledge that it is a fantasy bond and that either you or your partner or both of you are not all in and not being real.
Right. Exactly. I saw that too, fantasy bonding. So that's a whole different thing, because if we're going to lying, because that'd be Spanx, women wear Spanx, eyelashes, whole bunch of stuff. You know what I mean? We don't know what's what. Nobody knows what.
You sound like Chris Rock.
Listen, it can be a deal breaker. I remember dating this girl who she was Jamaican, had real pretty hair, like you, Doc, beautiful, long. I was like, love it. Girl, it's beautiful. And I remember one night we were talking, and she was like, "What you like about me?" I was like, "I like your hair. beautiful. She's like, this ain't mine. I'm like, you're crazy. She's like, no, it's not. And she did some shit and took the whole bottom half. I said, what the hell? It was like, I'm gonna get you, sucker. I was like, oh, they making these things undetectable. And then I was unfindable after that. That was it for me. She lied to me. We were done. I went to witness protection, never to be seen again. That was back in the day when I was shallow. I'm not shallow anymore. Not really.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, fantasy bonds are real, and sometimes you get caught up in one without even realizing it.
Right. Absolutely.
Because as Mary would say, you sent your representative in, and the representative took over.
It's funny. I wonder, and I'm just thinking about this now. Are fantasy bonds more prevalent today than before? And the reason I would ask that question, especially with like the online dating, all these things, people get to project themselves way more often than they did back in the day, because you can date all day long, right? So you never really get to shut it off. So every time you get a ding, you're representing yourself to someone else, and you may start believing your lies. You're telling all these people while you're searching. So I would think that fantasy bonds today are at a all-time high, just because it's so easy to meet people, and I think we have to do it at a much higher rate due to how many. Well, depending on how cute you are and how many people are in your inboxes.
I think there's a lot more opportunity,
to
create these illusions of connection. I think there's a lot more opportunity.
Right. And I think
you got swipe left 5 times a day, and you've said something to each of them. Yeah, I think it's a lot more opportunity.
And I think you get to perfect it as well, because you see what works and what doesn't work. All right, I told this girl the truth, but that didn't work. So I told this girl that I had money, that worked, and I told her I had a mansion. That So I think you get to project what works, as you get to perfect what works. As as you talk, you see what people bite on more often than not, and I think that could be a problem. Happy.
Yeah, that's a whole nother aspect of it. Living in an abusive relationship, but you're holding on to the fantasy of a healthy relationship at some point down the line.
Or maybe the fantasy of getting back to what it was when you first met, before those things were happening. When it was, we'll say, good in the beginning. Like, I know it, again, falling in love with potential. I know he's a good guy. I remember when we met, he used to buy flowers, he used to do this. Or she used to do this, or she used to do that, and they're going to get back to that. They said they're going to stop. They're not going to do this again. And it could be anything: cheating, gambling, whatever it is that is a problem in the relationship. Drinking all the milk all the time, whatever it is. I don't know. Whatever it is, the problem. You can definitely fall in love with, or fantasize about a different time in that relationship, or like you said, something to come. Like, it's going to change. It's going to change. And that's a serious problem.
Yeah, no, and in those situations, oftentimes you just kind of, especially in abusive situations, you kind of just set in, and you're just going about it like a robot, really.
Right.
You can't even get your feelings and get the investment that you would need to make the relationship a non-fantasy. You can't get the investment because, especially in an abusive relationship where you're on pins and needles all the time, and that acute stress is happening, you can't even get out of fight or flight to get to a point where you can think rationally and start processing your emotions enough that they become healthy with this person.
That's tough.
Yeah, that's a whole different kind of fantasy bond. I mean, and we also know that there's other things going on in those situations as well. Other
Right,
kinds of
right, right.
bonds going
Mhm.
on, you
Right,
know.
right, 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 right.
Yeah.
Peace.
Mm. But
I'm thinking
a
of
lot of times that fantasy is overlaying or in the layer somewhere because the person is often hoping and thinking that the situation is going to change.
right, and that's not even the fantasy. They think it's going to change. They think it's going to happen. Um, but I guess you know to I guess combat fantasy bombs, you got to get into some type of reality. Got to be grounded somehow, some way. You got to figure out, and that's tough because I mean, if you're the person that is the fantasyer, I just made up the word. A lot of times they don't know they're doing it. You know, they don't know they're doing it, and then when things do fail or go awry, either they said, I told myself this was going to happen, or I meet all the wrong people. You know, because people don't take any onus or accountability of themselves or what they're doing. They have to blame someone else, and that becomes a problem with the fantasy bond as well, because again, it's fantasy, it's make believe. You can believe anything you want, and that's okay for you to, but it doesn't mean it's something that's actually factual.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It is tough to peel back the layers. That sound like
Right.
Mary. Is that you, Mary?
People been on her long enough too. They know how Mary talks, so maybe
Uh-huh.
a Mary acolyte. Like this is what we learned this from Mary. She has raised a lot of sip and chat babies.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It's a lot of layers to it. And
Yes.
like I said, it's usually that from what I saw that it comes from your past. It could be childhood,
Mhm.
or it could be some failed relationships that lead
Mhm.
you to start going down this fantasy bond type of way of doing things, of looking at things. Um, and it's scary because I wonder. Now, I didn't see this anywhere. Do they really, like, how invested are they in the fantasy? Is the fantasy like really real to them? Is it like something where like, yo, we really are together? And if
I
they
think it
find out that,
depends on the person. Like, look at a
right,
Joe.
right,
For him, he's truly invested. He's killing
right,
for the fantasy. He's killing. So I think it
yeah,
depends. It's a spectrum, you
right,
know.
right, 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 right,
Somebody like Joe, he's killing for it. And the funny thing about that show that really got me was when he did marry Love and then realized she just
He
as
ain't like
messed
her,
up as he is.
right, right. He was like, she crazy. What'd
Yeah.
you say, Joe?
So his fantasy bubble was bust.
Right, 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 right. Or or maybe it wasn't commitment. Maybe it was commitment. He liked the chase. He liked when it was kind of like, they were moving and shaking, but once they got committed, it became an issue. And then I don't think he didn't make it to commit to anybody else because it's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
Put
I
you in a
think it
box.
depends. Yes. Yes, because he's gonna make his fantasy come true.
Oh man, I don't want to deal with nobody like that. That fantasy was crazy. You end up in a box.
Mm-hmm. But that's how you stay pure, right?
Woo! But see, and that's why this is really, it can be scary because it can go somewhere very bad, right? It can go
Mm-hmm.
left very quickly. And it's tough because it could be something that you're not participating in. You could be part of this bond that you're really not participating in. It's camp. Okay.
Camp.
Uh,
Okay. Okay.
uh,
Yes, it could.
how so? Choosing wrong also leads. And tell me more, camp, because I think I mean, because that'd be I think it's whoever you choose is going to be wrong. Going to be a fantasy bond. It's not like, I don't think they turn it on and off. Like, this person is a fantasy, this person is not. I think this may be the way they approach relationships. You know, I would think. You know, I don't know. I don't think
I know for some people, like you were saying, there it is a way. It's something that you've developed a use for as a kid. Oftentimes, you know, it becomes a defense mechanism as a way to feel safe and secure as a child. You know, so that's where it can begin, where you start making up these stories, you know, about your caregivers, and how they feel about you.
And then it becomes conditioned, and then that's what you continue to do. But it's crazy because, like I said, you could be a part of that and not even really know it, because sometimes your niceness, you being nice to someone, could be that match that starts the fire in them. You know,
yes.
You sat down with them at lunch and it happened 2 days in a row, and they're like, oh, what? Right. I can see that. Definitely trying to, again, that's where you fall in love with that perceived potential. This person gonna be great. I know they're gonna be the president. They're gonna be the president. I know it. I'm not leaving them. And they're not gonna be the president. Again, they're on fries. Okay.
Yes, that's what we talk. Yes, you believe in them so much, you put them on the pedestal up here, and you're not really being realistic about what is happening right now.
Right. You believe in them more than they believe in them. You know, and that could be so. And again, that could be okay sometimes, but it has to be rooted in some type of reality, right? I'm like, you do have potential. I see you're on fries right now, but maybe you want to go to the grill. You know, maybe you want to move up to the grill, and then you work.
But
you work with them to move to the grill.
You have to be okay though if that person says, I don't want to do the grill, I love fries.
Right, exactly. Because it's up to them what they do, right? You don't want to push a person into a space that they really don't want to be in, because then they may not stay, it may not be for them, it may not work out because they don't have, you know, their heart into it like that. If your heart is into it, why did you tell me so?
What do you think about the idea that you nurture something in somebody? Like, you see the potential, you force them, you nurture them, you make it happen, and then they leave you for somebody else.
I was gonna say they're gonna listen, upgrade. You upgraded too. But you know what? I think what happened there was the fantasy could have led to you never really connecting. Right? It could have been you just, again, like you said, nurturing, pushing this person, getting them to where they never be, but you never developed your bond with that person. So when I got where I wanted to go, we don't have anything anymore, right? I'm here now. We don't have anything keeping us together, right? We don't have the relationship that kept us together. That's what I think probably happened, right? Because it kind of said where you start putting all your wants and needs aside for the other person.
Yes.
So if you're giving so much to get them to where they got to be at, and it seems like you have nothing to give. For the last 5 years, what do you got? You've been helping me, but there's nothing you really are putting in because you're doing everything for me. So that could be like, I could feel like you're stagnant when really you are working for me, but I can't see it because you're working for me, but you have nothing of your own. So that's probably what happened there, I would think.
Now you're a bum.
Yeah. You just gonna ride on my coattails forever?
Right.
And so and that's why it's tough. So even while, again, you can help people out if you want to, you can try to, but you also have to, again, still continue to do what you do and still work on the relationship as well. You know, 'cause I think it's very important to have someone with you that brings something to the table. You know what I mean? Because I want to do the things you do as well. You know, I want to be a part of your life. You can't just be me all the time because then I don't really need you.
Right. Exactly. Hey, hey, young lady, how are you? Uh-oh.
There, all right, bye. The house is not burned down, is it? Okay, still here. Oh boy, I'll tell you. Let me see what else I have. Fantasy. So there was I saw something about also some strategies to get out of it.
Okay.
And again, it's really recognizing one thing, recognizing, admitting that
Yes.
you do this, that you
Yes.
put people on pedestals, or that you fantasize about the relationship more than it is. You make it to be something that it's not. You got to really take time to see, all my relationships don't work. Why? All these people are so great, but why didn't it work? Well, maybe they weren't as great as you thought they were, or you made them a lot better than they really were. Like you took the human aspect out of it. And then you have to start being real with your feelings as well. Whatever you're facing, however you feel about this person, let it be that. It doesn't have to be over the top after the first week or after 6 months. It don't have to be over the top. Recognize it does. I don't feel that way, and maybe this isn't for me. Don't try to force yourself to feel things, because you, again, either I fall in love with potential, or I think. Thank you. I am.
We know she was talking about your daughter.
Oh, that's what you're talking about? Oh, shoot. That's talking about me. And it says, you really have to start to deal with the psychological, maybe the pain or sadness that's involved with attempting to establish real intimacy, right? If you're kind of, trying to fake it, you have to kind of go through it. And if it works, cool. If it doesn't, cool. But start to be real about how you feel and what you really feel, and put forth that, instead of either, trying to acquiesce to whomever you're around or do whatever they do, or just be fake and not really give of yourself, like hold yourself back.
Yes. And if you're actually in a relationship where you're noticing that there is a fantasy bond, part of changing that is working towards your independence. Each of you working
you saw this list. You saw this list.
Yes,
that's the next thing. Yeah, there you go. You're good, girl. You're good. Right. And that's really big, the independence part, because I think that's a big part of making, these. I know you can't say it out to everybody. You gotta act like it wasn't for me. But yes, we definitely have to get that individualism back. You have to find out who you are, right? Find out who you are, and find out who you are when you're with someone else. Because who you are alone is a lot different than who you are when you're with someone else. So you got to find out who that is. And if you don't know, you have to maybe develop it. Again, taking some chances. It takes being vulnerable, which is scary to most of us. Yes. Being vulnerable is a scary thing. I get it. But if you're never vulnerable, I don't know how you expect to be in a relationship that's functioning the way it should function. So it's tough, I'm not saying be vulnerable the first day, but I'm saying you kind of, if you're spending time with someone and you think that this may be someone, then you want to open up a little bit. I'm not saying you have to tell them everything you did, but you start opening up slowly but surely as you guys get closer, and that'll help you do it in the long run, and also help you just get out of this fantasizing or hiding yourself or not really giving of yourself, because that relationship's never going to work that way.
Exactly. Exactly. And dealing with whatever, that underlying insecurity that you have that's causing you to do this, because as I said, a lot of times it comes from, the coping mechanism of trying to be safe as a kid. You develop these stories about how being close to these people who probably aren't really taking care of you the best way that they should.
Right.
So it becomes a coping mechanism to make you feel closer to people, but you're
Right.
not really building a close relationship in real life.
And that's real life. You have to start. And again, I'm not saying what everyone says about you is true, but if everybody in your relationship, like, yo, you on a different level. We weren't there. Like, you really thought we were something we weren't. If that is a common theme, then maybe you'll talk to somebody and help out,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
and get some help to maybe see what's going on and help change your patterns. You know,
Mm-hmm.
because usually change starts with you.
Yes.
You know,
And you're right. Oftentimes, and we talk about this a lot, that if several people or everybody in each relationship you've had is telling you the same thing, you got to stop saying it's them.
right, 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 right. Can't be all of them. Okay, not all of them. Maybe one or
No.
two, but the other eight, you.
Yes.
You know,
So even if you hate all of them,
mhm.
you still have to be able to step back, take a step back, and look at the message,
Right, 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 right,
so that you can change that, about yourself, so that you can have healthy relationships moving forward.
right. And then I think people, again, we say it all the time. Before you get in a relationship, find out what a healthy relationship is. Right.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to be in something trying to make it healthy when you don't know what healthy is to begin with. And that's a problem too. You know, same with the fantasy. It's not healthy. It's not healthy to begin. It's not healthy. It's not healthy in the middle, and it does end healthy. It ends on the ID channel. Just saying.
Just nothing healthy will come out of it.
No good comes out of it, you know. Or you're in a long-term relationship where you're not fulfilled because you're trying to be something you're not, or you're just following along with someone else's lead. And that's not good either, right? We want to, as whatever time we have here, you want to be happy. You want to be truly happy as much as you can. You want to be happy more often than not. I'm not saying you'll be happy every day, but you want to work at being happy and being authentic. You know, as long as you can be you in a relationship, that works. If you can be who you are in a relationship, that's the best way to be, whatever it is. You know, and that's what you have to find, someone that you can be yourself with.
Mm-hmm. It makes me think about that cartoon that used to come on called Chowder, and there's the the character Chowder has a quote unquote stalker. They never called her that on there, but that's basically what she is. She
Gotcha.
she follows him around and tells people that's my boyfriend, and he always says, "I'm not your boyfriend. I'm not your boyfriend." And then she just kind of brushes it off.
Right, 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 right. They
Yeah,
weren't.
you're my boyfriend.
It sounded like they were. They never broke up. They were always. She was always around, so it might have been. He didn't. See, you got to shut those things down, fellas. You can't let them believe things that they don't want to believe. That's how you get in trouble. That's how your window gets broke, car gets scratched up.
Right.
Yeah, so
Right.
kill the fantasy as quick as possible. Saves you on a window repair.
So that you don't end up in a box.
Yeah, listen, you don't ID channel. You don't want to be in a box.
And you know what? It's funny. It's funny, but it's not funny because sometimes people don't say anything because they don't want to hurt the other person's feelings.
Right.
They don't want to
Exactly.
embarrass them if they're saying
Right.
it in front
Right.
of a group of people,
Right.
So they don't say anything when they
Mhm.
really should shut it down.
You should. Just think about if you're meeting a person's mom or something like that, inadvertently, say you're out at the mall, you happen to run into her. Oh, hey, this is my boyfriend.
How would you handle that, Daryl?
Oh, I'm like, girl, you crazy. Ain't no boyfriend over here at all. Mom, you should raise your daughter better. We're gonna have a good laugh about it, but I ain't gonna let it go down. I live for those moments. I always want to teach somebody.
And but a lot of people would say, "Well, I'm not going to embarrass her in front of her mother."
Yeah, I am, because I know what happens later. That means we're in a full relationship, and she has the right to think that now because we were both there. She said it out loud to someone else. We have a witness.
Yep.
and I didn't say anything. That's
Yep.
a relationship. That's
Yep.
damn near a marriage. That's a marriage.
Yep.
You had a witness and everything. So no, I am not letting that go down. Only because you don't, like I said, for me, I don't want anybody think anything that's not true. It happened to me. It's only so many windows you get broken before you say, I can't let this happen anymore. I'm gonna put an end to it. Yeah, I ain't got $200 to pay for all these windows every time it happens. Now just tell them the truth. The truth does not stop your windows from being broken. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yes, that's true.
It
That
doesn't.
is true. That is true. But it is really common that as we're talking about it, I'm thinking about it, how people will label a relationship more intimate or deeper than it really is.
Right. Especially around friends or events.
Yes.
If you go, like I said, if you go somewhere with someone, hey, I'm going to this picnic. You want to come? Then it's weird because how do you introduce this person? This is my friend. This is my whatever case. This is why, like I said before, I don't introduce anyone. So I don't have this problem.
You did
I just
say
go,
that.
and the person will be there, and if they want to talk, they'll introduce themselves. As long as they don't say they're attached to me in any type of way that they're not, it's okay. Just say your name. That's who you are. Who is this? I'm like, who? And then I walk off. I don't answer any questions. Oh boy, that's just how it goes.
I'm not going anywhere with Daryl anymore.
Yeah, please. Hey, listen, people have said all the time, and I do it so much I don't even realize I do it now. I just don't. If I'm with someone and I see people, I'm like, I'm talking to them. I'll never introduce. I won't ever sing it, and then we'll be done. So why didn't you introduce me? For what? Did you know him? No. What am I introduce you for? Confused. If you knew him, you'd have said hi. You don't know him, you need to know him. Like, what are we talking about here? So
well,
yeah, that's just how I am.
Those situations could create the beginnings or deepen a fantasy bond.
Right. And I think it makes, again, you do what you to the other person. Now they're sitting there the whole time where you're like, we're not together. Like you're in your head, like we're really not. Like, so now you're not even on your game, or you're off a little bit because you're like, what the heck? Like, I just met this person. We're not. So now you got to have this conversation. Hopefully you have the conversation later, and if you let it go, then again, you guys are definitely in a relationship.
Well, yeah, if you never had the conversation,
Mm-mm.
yeah, you're in the relationship and you have to get ghosts. That's the only way you can get out of it.
That's it. Change your phone number, block.
And even that doesn't work all the time because they might find you.
Are you at my house?
Yes.
I told you, come to my house and the police will be here for you. I'll be right out. I'll go in and call the cops and sit there and wait till they come. She's still here, your officer. She's still here.
Or they find you on social media and start trying to ruin your life.
Oh, yeah, that's the problem with these fantasies. Hopefully you can nip them in the bud earlier than that's why stringing somebody along or that type of stuff is bad, because you don't know where they are mentally. You don't. Right. So with that being said, you actually are doing yourself a disservice down the road because you think you're winning by playing these games, but it definitely can come back to bite you.
Yes.
I mean,
so,
yeah, what are you gonna say?
That's the risk you run when you take Yes, that's right.
It's
you are getting the yams for free.
It's worth the risk. Like I said, don't do it unless you're willing to die for it. Okay.
Okay. I don't know. I don't know, but I guess maybe you have come across some worth dying for yams in your lifetime.
Anytime you're in the yams, you gotta it better be worth dying for, because you could die. You mean it better be worth it? Jeez, if you didn't think it was worth it, you shouldn't have been in them. Don't build a fantasy about the yams either. Yams give out fantasies as well. So don't let the yams make you do things you shouldn't be doing either.
So what
Anymore.
you know what? Oh yeah, yes. So we've talked about ways to kind of help you not develop these fantasy bonds, but one of the ways that we talk about all the time is knowing who you are, knowing your boundaries, your deal breakers, and really getting to know people that you're seeing. No, and
Right.
when I say knowing who you are, we always talk about knowing your patterns. And hopefully before you get into a new relationship, you kind of break some of those.
Right. Right.
But at least knowing when you see it rear its ugly head in the beginning of a relationship, you can kind of say, "Oh, okay, this is what I'm doing. All right, I'm creating fantasies. I'm making up stories. I don't even really know this person." And then you can kind of check yourself.
Right.
And then, you can move towards a healthier way of developing a relationship with this person because you know what you're doing. But if you do not recognize the pattern and that is actually happening, then it can get too deep.
Mm-hmm. And it can continue in other relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely want to, again, we want to be happy. We want to be happy while we're here.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You want to be happy and fulfilled, right? You want to be fulfilled. And that means you have to have some individualism. You have to be yourself as well.
Mm-hmm.
And just don't think that you engrossing yourself in another person is the way to go. That's a fantasy in itself. That's a fantasy in itself as well. A relationship is much better when you have two individuals that have their own way of doing things come together and you work it out together, and they bring some things to the table that you may not know, and you can share some things with them, they can share some things with you. That's great. But it can't be you just one person just sharing, other person just doing. That's tough for both people.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes.
Mm-hmm.
And try to get to know the real person, ask questions, learn about them, and not just go off of the stuff that you made up in your head. And look at a person for where they are right here, right now.
Right. Today.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Today.
And I think you said it earlier that it's okay to acknowledge that someone has potential, but you're not building the relationship on that possible potential. You're building a relationship on who they are right now, what they bring to the table right now. And, yes, you don't want to ignore that they might have some potential to do greater things, but that's not what the relationship is going to be built on right now.
Right. A fantasy that I. Ooh, the bars, boy. I was trying to get this song. I was trying to play it in the comments, but it wouldn't let me.
Oh, wow. A dream.
Listen, that song was perfect.
Yes. Okay. Any last words for our group, Daryl?
Nah, I think we covered everything. Just again, a little fantasy is okay. A lot of fantasies makes you Joe. Don't be a Joe.
Don't be a Joe. That's a good one. Don't be a Joe. So we want to thank everyone for joining us tonight on our time back. We always enjoy the communication with you guys through the chat. You can keep the chat going in our group Relationship Flow on Facebook, and then you can catch this on the replay on my page at Dr. Carissa on Facebook and on the YouTube channel Butterfly Love. And we will see you guys next week. If you have a topic that you want us to cover, please let us know. You can let us know in the group, or you can DM either one of us. All right. So have a good weekend, everybody. Enjoy. Thank you, Neil. I'm glad you were here.
Thanks for saying I'm cutie too.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.